Land Rover Discovery 4. I love my Land Rover Discovery 4. New Land Rover Defender. I love my new Defender too. Let's have a look at them both. Let's compare them. What are the differences? What are the good things? What are the bad things about each? How have they styled it? And how similar are they? And if you've got a Discovery 4 and you're looking to change, maybe Land Rover, we'll have a look. Maybe Land Rover would like you to go to a Defender. We'll have a look. Have they made them similar? Right, here we go. So when we look at the front, you'll notice they're both quite similar. They've got the same sort of clamshell bonnet with the blunt front edge. You can almost see this curve is the same on both of them. Right, if I can squeeze in here, you'll notice the windscreen. The windscreen is actually higher on the Land Rover Defender, if you look there, compared to this one. But the old Disco 4, one thing I like about the Disco 4 is the stadium seating. So if you look at it side on, we'll go around the side and have a look at it. The actual, it steps up as it gets to the back, and that was so the rear seats could be slightly higher. And that was always a Discovery styling cue. That's not there on the Defender, but they seem to have gone full height front to back. Now in fact, the Discovery 4 is wider. It's, let me get this right, it's longer, but it's slightly pipped by a few millimeters by the Defender. The Defender is higher. Right, let's cruise round. Let's have a little look at the Defender and compare it. So generally, as you look at it, they've each got their unique style. But as we move around to the side, so we've parked these exactly the same. So the nose should be pretty much spot on the same. And you can even see there's a sort of similar step in the bumpers here. So they've both got sort of wheel arches and a wheel arch thing going on. Obviously they've both got side vents. They're different styles. The windscreen rake is slightly, there's not a lot in it, is there? Almost identical. Maybe it's slightly more raked on the Discovery 4, I would say. Right, and then as we move through, we've got the side styling. Obviously this is quite different. You've got the Alpine windows. Thank you for the person that reminded me they were called Alpine windows. You've got this funny for sale note, but let's look at the comparison. Let's come to the back and let's look straight down the back, George. So if you look, this plate here is virtually in line exactly. Okay, we've got the little spoiler, but they're almost, this one slopes a bit more. This one's a little more upright. Sorry, I might have gone a bit far from the camera there. Obviously the Defender has got the classic wheel on the back. Now there's something I'll do at the end of the video, towards the end of the video. I'm going to turn the cars round and we'll open up both doors and we'll have a look at the load space. So they both got a step, they've both got this line here. So you see how you've got like this section here, and you've even got this sort of corner shaved off here. If you look on the Defender, have you got that, George? You've got this little shaved off corner here, you've got this line, you've got the body panel here, and you've got the lights there. It's almost the same on the Discovery. Right, the windscreen line is nearly the same. Okay, it steps down, but it's nearly the same. They've both got the rear wash wipe. Obviously the number plate is totally different. They've moved that under the bumper. Right, let's come along the side here. Now here's the interesting thing. If you look through the windows here, Joy, you'll see the rear lines and then come across, and as you move across, I've opened the windows on the Discovery 4. Now look at this dividing quarter light panel here. Look, it's virtually, if you get it exactly in line, Joy, and come back a little bit, you'll see it's just bam. And then look at the door pillars. Look, they're virtually straight in line. And then look at the windscreen. So you can see how similar, and have like almost the steering wheels you can see too. They're virtually in the same position. So have Land Rover made the Defender to attract the Discovery 4 customers? Who knows? Only they know. Right, so where were we talking about? We're talking about the... Right, so one thing we like about... They've both got a 7-seat option. We've got the 7 seats configured in this one, and we've also got it locked. Right, so if we have a look inside... So we've got the 7-seat option. You can see you've got the 7 seats in the back. The interior on this Disco 4 is rugged. I mean, when we go out in this, I let the kids eat in it. The Range Rover, I won't let them eat in. It's just the family bus. And this extra, this is what I was talking about earlier, the stadium seating. If I open both doors and you go back, you should be able to see what I mean with the rear seats being slightly higher. But Yeah, the Disco 4 is like the family bus. The dog, we haven't got a dog, but people with a dog and just throw everything in it. It does everything. It does what you need it to do. It's robust, it's comfortable. Right, so in comparison, let's have a look in the new Defender. So you dive in, I'll jump over here. So we haven't got the 7-seat option here. We just got the 5-seat option. But likewise, they've used quite rugged materials inside. Quite a flat rear floor. There's lots of space in the back. I'll sit in the back.
Loads of USBs.
Oh yeah, that's one thing they definitely win on is charging points. The kids won't be fast. Yeah, this is an integrated holder here, so you can integrate the click and go accessories, stuff in the back of the seats. Other than that, and obviously I mentioned the Alpine lighting. So that's very similar. I don't think there's as much room in the back, and we'll do that next, won't we? We'll have a look at them part back to back and look at the boot space and see how much space we've got there. Even though the Defender is slightly narrower, in theory, interior wise it's quite wide. It does feel more spacious. You do feel like you're sat further apart and there's more room between you. So I think they've used space well. One thing I would say I do miss, in the Discovery 4, there's lots of storage bins, especially in the rear section where you can put your high-vis jackets and stuff. You might even be able to see it through the window there. But there's less storage pockets in the new Defender. I would miss that. Right, so there's a quick brief look at the interior. Obviously we've got the infotainment system, which is much better in this one. But that's roughly a quick look, peek. Have a quick another look in there, George, around the interior and the infotainment screens. So that's the interior. If we look at some of the more of the stats, so I'll put the stats. I've done a little thing. I'll put the graphic up there now, so you can have a look at that. But if you look, they're fundamentally the same size. The Disco 4 is wider, as I've already mentioned. It's longer, although the Defender's slightly higher. Other things, if you look at, they've both got a 7-seat option. Interestingly, they were both designed by Jerry McGovern, which is interesting. And if we look at the engines, so my Disco 4 is the 3-litre diesel, the SDV6, and that produces 242 brake horsepower. The new Defender, mine's a petrol, but the diesel one, the 2-litre diesel one, which is the comparable one, produces 234 brake horsepower. The economy, they keep changing the way they measure the fuel economy, but they're basically the same. They're low 30s fuel economy, miles per gallon that is. And the acceleration, the new Defender is slightly quicker at 8.7 seconds 0 to 60, whereas the Disco 4 is slightly slower at 9 seconds, but there's hardly anything in it, and that's probably due to the Disco 4's 300 kilograms of extra weight. Now, the Disco 4 is built on a chassis, so that means it's got a big girders of steel running underneath it, and you can actually lift the body off from the chassis, and all the wheels and the engine and the gearbox is there. And the old Defender was built on a chassis in much the same way. The new Defender, it's got much more high-tech materials. It's a monocoque, so everything's bolted. The body shell is the structure. It uses aluminium floor pans, aluminium panels, so that's where the new Defender saves its weight. That's where it's managed to lose the 300 kilograms, because we can see it's the same size of car, so to save the weight they've really invested in the materials. Right, let's have a look at a bit more detail of the rear and the rear load space. And one thing that's obviously quite different is the Defender rear door opens like so, and you can reach in and things. But the Discovery obviously has the different configuration where the top tailgate goes up and the lower tailgate goes down. You'll notice I've got a pallet in the back. But one thing that was quite good with the Disco was you could put that down and you could stand on it if you need to get anything on the roof. So you didn't really need a rear ladder to get up on the roof and load things. And also they used to use it when they went to the hunts and watched all the sports and that. You could park up somewhere, stand on the top and look over the hedgerows. Right, enough of that. So the one thing I liked about the Disco 4 was this big square opening, almost van-like opening at the back. And you can actually get a standard size pallet, Obviously we've got the second row seats folded down. You could get a standard size pallet, but if I take the same pallet, I'll pick the heaviest pallet. I'll just grab one off the pile. It's like, right, so I'm not weak. Right then. So if you try and get this in here, you'll notice you are not getting a pallet in this Defender. I can if I go sideways. It's a good job I bought this one. But you've got to go at quite an angle to get that in. Right, well, let's get rid of that prop. Whose idea was that? Right. The other thing, if we measure from the back of the front seat to the, we'll call the boot line here, we've got 190, nearly 2 meters, 1.9 meters. If I do the same trick in the Defender, even if I go up to the back seat, sort of there, we've only got, well, you could argue 160, 170. So somewhere, and you can see I've gone right up to the, if I go up to the back of the back seat there, so that's about 170. So somewhere along the line, we've got the same length of car, but we've lost. Now I think where we've lost it is because we actually measured the boot floor. So that's obviously, so how big's the boot floor? This is where we've lost it here. So if I go off the boot floor to here, we've got like 87. Okay. And if I do that same on the Disco 4, I go where the rear seats finish there, come up to this line, we've got 110. So the boot is much bigger. I think they've probably given you more rear legroom possibly and made it more spacious for the occupants, but then you've lost on the boot space. And I think also you've lost a bit of space because the total length probably includes the spare wheel. So this is obviously car length but not useful boot space. So I think the Defender does lose out on the space, and if anyone like me has got a Disco 4, the amount of rubbish we've piled in there when we've gone away as a family of 4 and we've packed it out. So there we go, that's the rear view. So let's now move around to the front and try and wrap up in a... Right, conclusion. So, which one's better? Well, they're so similar. They're so similar in size, power, fuel economy, layout, 7 seats, design. The only thing that I think the Defender really wins on is the interior technology. We haven't covered that much, but it's got much better infotainment system. It also wins on the use of materials. So much more use of aluminium, the lower weight, the 300 kilogram weight saving. So I think the Defender will be a natural Discovery replacement. For those that haven't gone for the Disco 5, I think this will be a very desirable option. Right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the cars and park them in some different positions so you can see them back to back and front to front and just get another look at the cars.